good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show.
Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Obogo.
He is a musician who uses words to change hearts and minds. Welcome, Breis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I like that introduction.
You're welcome. So you were defined as a hip hop educator.
Right. Yeah, that would be true.
What is a hip hop educator? Let's break this down. What is a hip hop educator and what do you do?
Well, I'm an MC, a hip hop MC, and that's my background. So I got into education work probably about 18 years ago.
Okay.
And I went into it as a hip hop artist,
right,
sharing his art with young people. But then throughout the years, I've managed to kind of merge education and the art form of rap. So
right.
Using rap as a starting point or an entry point to gain their or just to capture them, capture the young minds, and then from there being able to work on literacy skills, being able to work on improving their confidence, giving them tactics for revision. Do you know what I mean? So just through looking at different elements within hip hop or different practices within hip hop, I've been able to move that into education and allow that to help both students and teachers actually in helping them.
I like the sound of this, especially when you're talking about revision. I'm thinking, how do you use rap to help with revision? This is something that I think I'd have needed while I was in school.
Yeah, well, it's that whole thing of rhyme. Rhyme is like one of the biggest mind hooks that exist. Hence why when we're young, we learn through nursery rhymes.
Yes.
Because they stick to the brain a lot more easy. Years later, you're going to remember all your nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily something I used to do, but I've cultivated the idea of taking a topic, turn it into rhyme, into a rap, and then memorizing it in that form.
Oh.
And there's been studies about this. There's been, people have actually done this for PhDs, for their degrees, and it has worked for them.
Okay. So what you're saying, is you take a topic, you break it down, you form it into a rap, and then it helps you form like mnemonics to help you remember. So let's take something like, how would something like that work for maths? Because that was my subject of dread. How would you use that for let's say a child who has problems with equations? How would you help them with that?
Well, I would say the first thing is understanding. You see, you have to understand the topic, and then you have to find the main points, and then you turn those main points into lyrics.
Right.
So that's it. It kind of works in that order. So you have to kind of understand it, pull out the important information, and then find a way of putting it into a sequence whereby it makes sense and it sticks as well.
I would have loved to see how you'd have tackled a times table, because that would have been fun.
Well, obviously I'm Nigerian, and in Nigeria, we learned times tables through song.
Yep, 2 times 2, 4.
Do you know what I'm saying? So as well as rhyme, or it's also rhythm, it's also melody. These are all the elements. It's music. These are all the elements that make things stick. Do you know what I mean? But that's one aspect of what I do. Like, I don't go in and do that per se, but some of the main things I do when I go into schools is we work on expressing their views, their opinions, their thoughts on particular topics through the art form of rhyme, through the art form of poetry. And in them actually, doing that, figuring out what's on their minds and expressing it in a particular way, that does a lot for their own self-confidence as well.
I can imagine that would be the case. And I'm just, I think that's something that every school needs to have someone working with students in this way, especially now that you have a lot of young people who are struggling to express who they are, what they are, and especially for children of color right now, that will be something very powerful. And not only are you a hip hop educator as an artist, you're also an artist and you have your music out and everything, but you've used music to deal with grief. And you used it when your mother passed away and everything. How else does music help your well-being?
Well, music, the way I see music is, I've always seen music as like the soundtrack to our lives. And I think when we're younger, music has a more important role to a degree. It's like, I just remember being young and just being fully into music. Like I had to know whose album was coming out. I needed to know the producers, what the label was. I could recognize a vocal and be like, oh, that's Mary J. Blige. Oh, that's Faith Evans. It was about, I remember listening to Ice Cube's Death Certificate, listening to certain albums which actually informed me about social issues around the world. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a big part of your education. Like music is education, it's entertainment, it's uplifting. And it's a friend. Like music, do you know what I mean? Like, after that breakup, you play them sad songs,
Oh, don't do this to me on my show. No.
You gotta play those sad songs, I remember being I had this big crush on this girl, and I can't remember what happened, but either it didn't work out or I was too shy to approach or something. And all I remember was playing Michael Jackson's Liberian Girl over and over and over again. Do you know what I mean? Like music speaks to us, speaks to the situations that we go through in life. Do you know what I mean? Now that I'm older, I find I don't have the same time that I used to have in consuming music. So I consume it in a different way. So I kind of consume it as background music. So when I'm doing my chores, it's helpful if I've got some music, or if I'm traveling somewhere, it helps me with some music. And this is when I'm not working on music, because that's so I'm either listening to it just as a background thing, or I'm working on music. Whereas I think when I was younger, I was listening, I was studying as well. So music is just a big part of life, or of our lives. And I think especially as African people, music is very foundational in our culture. So it's used for celebration, it's used for just getting along, just getting us into a mood, so empowering. So it's a lot of different things. And when my mom passed away in 2017, I lost all my passion for everything, absolutely everything. And it took about 1.5 years before that passion, that spark started to come back bit by bit. And getting back into music was I would say the thing that kind of helped me refocus on life again. Do you know what I mean? And I thought that I didn't think that I could smile again. I didn't think I could be. I was just like, I'm never gonna be the same guy again. Like I'm sort of like the I won't say the life of the party, but I'm the guy. I'm that guy. Like, you put on certain tunes, I'm on the dance floor. Do you know what I mean? Like, running joke, banter, blah blah blah, and all of that evaporated. And I just thought, I'll never have that again. Do you know what I mean? So, focusing on music again, whether that was making music or just listening to stuff that I had been working on before, and then just getting enthused again. That was such a healing process for me in dealing with grief, because I think that, you know, grief can affect people in different ways.
Oh yeah.
And overcoming grief, if that's such a thing, if that's even possible, will take different things. And for me, music, you know, refocusing on music was one of those things that helped.
It sounds like music just it's part of your DNA, and it's part of what you breathe, and it's part of, and I recognize what you're saying about growing up in an African household where music, you cannot not have music. It's whether it's the church, is whether it's the high life and things like that, or it's, you know, you have Motown and then you will have country on one side.
Jim Reeves.
You cannot come to Nigerian house and not find Jim Reeves.
You know what I
mean? or Dolly Parton.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You know, I learned to sing Dolly Parton's Jolene flawlessly at one time. As flawlessly as an 8-year-old could. And then when you grow up kind of going, wait a minute, was that what I was singing? Like, because that song is serious. But I can see that music, you know, it holds for you. And what was it about music that you said, yes, this is going to be the road I'm going to travel on. This is going to be my business. This is where I'm going to work. This is what I'm going to create. When was that moment that you realized that this was also a business for you that you were going to step into?
It probably was on a trip to Nigeria. So I'd been doing music for a few years, but I never saw it as a career. It was just a hobby. You know, to tell my mum that I was going to be a rapper as a career. I'm asking to get smack up. So I never saw that as a career. I just thought at some point I'll have to put this down. But for now, I'm doing this. I enjoy it, you know, throughout university, you know, and I went to Nigeria one year on holiday, and I had a demo tape, and my cousin listened to it, and he said, Breis, man, this is serious. No. You need to come to Nigeria. You need to come to Nigeria. Show these guys. You need to show these guys. This is serious. And I was like, right, okay. And I started to imagine having music as a career. I couldn't see it though. But then another thing had happened. I was working in the accounts department of an organization. And I was sick of tired of one of the bosses that I had. It's just get on my nerves. And I used to hate office politics, and I always saw that being brought up and stuff, and I hated it. So I'm on holiday, I'm in Nigeria, and one day I have a dream. My boss is in my dream, and I basically wake up in a cold sweat, like I'm sweating, like it's like I had a nightmare. And I'm like, how can I be thousands of miles away in my country? And
you're still being harassed.
And I'm still being harassed in my dream. I said, nah, this has to stop. So I actually made a decision a few months later just to quit my job, and I was going to do music full time.
That must have taken some courage.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And how did you have that conversation with your mom? That's I'm going to be a rapper conversation.
Well, I used a bit of a Jedi mind trickery because a friend of mine by the name of Malika Booker, she was actually the one who introduced me to the world of artistry within education. So she told me, she saw me at a show and she said, Breis, you'd be really good at doing workshops. I had no idea what a workshop was. And then when she explained it to me, I was like, I can't really see myself teaching people how to write. Like, I know how to do it for me, but I don't know if I can show others how to do it. But when I'd made that decision, I thought, I'm going to look into this. So when I went to tell my mom, I said, look, Mom, this is my decision. This is what I've decided. I'm leaving this job and I'm going to do music full time. And she was a bit quiet. And then I said, but also, I'm also going to be doing workshops in schools. She said, what's that? And I explained it. And she said, what, like a teacher? I said, yes. Yes, like a teacher. And so that's how, to her, I was like a teacher and a musician at the same time. But at least I was a teacher as well. So it was still respectable. So yes, I got away with it. And then later on, as time went on, she saw how serious I was about, the music, and it was all right.
I have to take my hat off to you for the Jedi mind trick there, because
man. I don't know if it could have been any other way.
She probably said, "Oh, you want to be a rapper? Let me get you Tom Tom and rap you up."
Yeah, it was an interesting one.
So you know what, and I think this is something that anybody who shares that Nigerian African heritage in that terms will know, that our parents were like, and not that. And I think right now
keen on the arts.
Well, they weren't keen on the arts because they wanted us to be more secure and more stable,
exactly.
And it was for our betterment. But it's funny because now I see more parents who are championing for their children to be in the arts, and who are making space for the work that they do and seeing the impact that it has. And when you start thinking about the impact that you have, and you talk about, there's a line that you have where you talk about nobody sees a star from afar on the come up, and all the
come on,
all the hard work and all the bills you run, and every time you talked about that. So is this when you start looking at it and thinking about nobody's going to see you when you're doing the work? They just want they will just see you when you arrive.
Yeah. That's the case. It's like we see artists in general. We see them at the sort of the end of a phase of a cycle. So when you see an artist performing, that's actually the end of a cycle. The beginning of that cycle is the rough idea.
Yeah.
Then the creation, the writing the lyrics, the putting the music together. Then you have the recording of the music. Now, that is one level. The next level is you actually have to have the funds to survive whilst you're creating, then the funds to actually record. And so you might have to work to get the funds to survive and the funds to record. Then you record, then you rehearse, you need funds for the rehearsing, and then you probably need funds to get onto a show or get an agent who do you know what I mean? So it's like there's this up and this struggle, and then you've got to do the marketing. So there's just so much that goes into it. So when you hear a song, when you see a video, that's the next level. It's a lot of money has been spent. And if you're an independent artist like myself, that's coming from your own pocket. It's not a major label that's throwing 10 grand behind you and say, do. Nah, it's like me coming up with, all right, I need £200 for the makeup lady. I need to pay the models. I need to get a director who's also going to edit it, and have to negotiate, try and get a nice, a nice little fee there. And studio costs, all of these things cost. Do you know what I mean? So you run up your bills, you go through frustration, anger, people letting you down, all of these things, but no one sees any of that. They just see the finished product.
And that's that when we start talking about that finished product, or what I call once you go viral and you're everywhere, you're insta famous, or you're all of a sudden you're on social media, people know your name. I want to listen. How do you communicate that to your students when you are educating them that life isn't about insta famous, or how do you educate them in the art of perseverance? I think that's a better question. How do you educate them in the art of perseverance?
Well, one of the things that I love doing when I'm in schools is whatever we're doing, whether it's a workshop, presentation, I love to have a section towards the end, which is just Q&A.
Right.
So ask me your questions and I'm going to answer them as honestly as I can. And usually in that period is when I break down certain myths and just give them the real. I just give them the real, that this is what it is. I know you're seeing the glamour and the glitz, but that's not all it is. And, sometimes I break down what it means to be an independent artist. And I do that with my book as well a lot, because I tell them that as an independent or self-published author, and I break down the maths of it. So if you're signed to a major publishing company, this is what you can earn.
Yeah.
You might earn 50 pence, 80 pence, or £1 out of your book. If it costs £10, for example, you might earn that per book. That's what you're going to get. But as a self-publishing author or self-published author, you can earn £8 per book. The difference is, though, you look much better when you're on the major. You got all the bells and the decoration,
all the whistles, all the people behind you.
You're everywhere. It's like, oh wow, he's popping. But when you're independent, you don't have that same reach. But behind the scenes, you don't have to do as much as the person on the major label to still be eating the same, if that makes sense. So I kind of try and break down some of the illusions of this industry, and some ideas that they had that aren't necessarily true. I try and break those down a little bit.
Okay. All right. So speaking of videos and cost and everything, where was the video for Stay Diligent filmed?
That was filmed in Switzerland, in a city called Lucerne.
Okay.
So I had an event, I had a gig there, a concert there, a couple of concerts there, and the band that I was performing with had been there before and told me that the place where we're going to do the show, it is absolutely gorgeous, and the hotel we're staying at it's like one of the best hotels he's ever been in.
Wow.
And I thought, and at the time, I was recording a docuseries about my journey as an independent artist, and so I asked my videographer to come to Switzerland and to film the show. And then I thought, it'd be good to shoot a video, but I didn't have a song to actually record at the time.
Okay.
I didn't actually have a song. But I told him, look, come anyway, just record the show, record the concert, and we'll see what can happen. And
right.
When we got there and everything, I just thought we have to shoot a music video as well. So I just had this idea. I already had some lyrics. I didn't have a chorus or anything, but I had the lyrics. And so we filmed me doing the lyrics over, I listened to a different beat, performed it over that beat, and we just filmed it.
Wow.
And the idea was, when I eventually get the right music, we'll just replace it.
Yeah.
And hopefully the lyrics that I've done on camera will sync once I make sure the BPM, the beats per minute, were the same. on both tracks. So it was a very scientific kind of way of shooting a video. Like, I've never done anything like that. I didn't even think it was gonna work, but I just thought, let's try it, because this is beautiful. We're in a beautiful place. We need to try and shoot something. So we did, and it came out absolutely amazing.
That's really awesome. And that's, like you said, I don't think that's ever been done. And I think that is a unique way of actually doing something, and it shows the creativity. And you mentioned the docuseries, and we were going to talk about that. What made you decide you wanted to have a docuseries? What made you say, this is what I want? I want to show this journey, not just for myself, but for others to actually know what it's like as an independent artist.
Well, I'm someone who does a lot of different things. So because I do the education thing, I do the music thing, I run my own company. So I'm like a businessman, an artist, an author, an educator. It can be a bit confusing sometimes for people, because they want to know you as just one thing. And it helps just to know you as one thing. It's like, yeah, you do that. Once you go, you do that. It can be a little bit confusing. So what I wanted to do was try and paint this picture of this all-round artist and practitioner. And these are all the different things that he does. Does this, does this, does this, does this, does this. Still the same guy, same person. You know, you can see the same energy flowing throughout whatever I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of wanted to just bring it all together, make it make a bit more sense to people, kind of normalize the there's so many fingers at different pots or pies theory. I just wanted to kind of like bring it all in one place, so you kind of got this understanding, like, okay, and that was actually part of the reason why I wrote my book as well. Which I think, and I've done the book now. With the docuseries, it has not been completed, so that's on hold at the moment. But the book kind of does the same thing.
So it basically serializes who you are in terms of the different elements of your work, the different elements of you that makes you. And I think everyone needs to have a copy of that book, because I'm still going through the copy myself, and I'm like, this is really good.
Thank you.
Looking at, we cannot, we'll be remiss if we don't mention the state of affairs of where the world is. The pandemic, whether you want to call it the Rona, the COVID, we are where we are. How has this pandemic affected your creativity?
In different ways. At one point, it encouraged my creativity. At one point, it gave me time to be creative. And then there was, let me see, how can I say it? There was a, I don't know if there was a moment, but all of a sudden, I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by a number of different things that were happening at the time, and a lot of things that I was digesting. So I was reading a lot, I was watching a lot of things, and there were so many theories flying around at the time, and as I was consuming them, and I think my anxiety just went shot up, because I was really like, oh, they're out here trying to kill us. They trying to kill us out here. And then also I'd lost an uncle.
Oh dear.
And before lockdown, but then his funeral was during lockdown, so that was weird. That was like the first instance we couldn't even go. Like, my auntie went, and her son, and maybe one or two people. So it was like, oh wow, we couldn't even go and say goodbye. So that was weird. And then I had some friends who were both admitted into hospital during this time with their breathing difficulties. One of them, Sophia, went in, she came out, and my other friend went in. His name is Ty, MC. He went in and didn't come out. Yeah. So that was really, there were like about 6 weeks roughly of like, just really, actually it was longer than that, probably about 7 or 8 weeks of just being worried for both of them. And then another elder statesman musician, Uncle Tony Allen, Afrobeat drummer.
Okay.
He passed away as well. So it was just a lot. There was just a lot of things going on. And then on top of that, I lost all my bookings for, the spring and the summer. So like thousands of pounds, just revenue just gone. And I was like, it didn't bother me at the time because I was, I didn't really care about that. I was just worried about my friends and, thinking about my family. And it was tough. Like I was, what's the word I'm looking for? I was crippled to a degree. Like I couldn't really function how I wanted to or needed to. Like I was just kind of caught in this phase of not knowing and not being able to do anything either.
Right.
And that was tough. That was really tough. So that happened. And then after Ty's funeral, actually before Ty's funeral, I lost another uncle. And when that happened, I had like this out of body experience where I kind of like came out of my own body, turned around, looked at myself and said, look, this could be happening every week. Are you going to keep breaking down? You just have to toughen up right now. Like you have to just be tough because it doesn't even look like this year's letting up. So somehow from that time onwards, I was a bit more steadfast and anything that kind of came my way didn't shake me or move me as much anymore. It probably came just like really hard. I just had to harden myself. And I think there's still an element of that happening now with me. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I have to get through this.
I think that's what everyone is doing at this point.
Yeah. And I realized that this hit everybody differently. It hit different people differently. Some people, this is a holiday. This is like a long holiday for them. For some people, they didn't experience loss. For some people, they experienced loss of work. You know what I mean? Like it hit different people in different ways. So I'm always mindful of the fact that not everyone has been struggling throughout this period, and some people have been struggling way more than you could ever even imagine.
So I'm just going to say, I don't even think condolences anymore is the right thing because there's been just in some cases just so much loss. But I think that's the word that I would use here is my condolences to you for the losses. And I think for me in this time is I've had to use this time to be very grateful. In terms of looking at and saying, like you said, it could be a lot worse. Yeah. So as an artist with the COVID, with the pandemic, how does it change the work that you do in terms of performing? How do you see performance going forward post this?
Well, there were some examples, I think a lot of things were happening. People were doing shows in their house. I've seen a few different models of performing, in a very safe manner. Some socially distant events, I saw a few of those. I released my EP mid-August, and I have not done a show.
Right.
I haven't done a show since. I've not done a show to promote it, didn't do a launch, and I didn't feel like I had the setup at home to do it justice.
Right.
But I'm looking at a few different ways of, because I think it's just going to be a case of streaming, you know. I think that's how it's going to be. So, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, next year, hopefully January, maybe February, of starting to do some shows again, that I put together to a degree where I'm happy. I'm happy with how it looks, how it sounds. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
Keep us posted. We'll love to know so that we can share the links once you have the shows come out, and we can actually, you know, keep the sharing going and let people know it's happening. Okay, so we're looking at what inspired you in terms of your art, and you say you were inspired by the works of Fela Kuti and Stevie Wonders. But let's look at Fela Kuti. How do you see his brand of activism in terms of music fitting into the world that we find ourselves in right now?
Oh man, it's Fela's music is so relevant now. It's so relevant now. I mean, it's always been relevant, but so relevant now because of the nonsense that is my home in Nigeria, because of the mess that we see. The mess has been there all along. Yes. But it's gotten to a ridiculous state now where it's ridiculous, and the mad thing is people have had enough. Now, why do I say
had enough? Finally had enough.
Finally. And this is why I say that's the mad thing about it. It's like we take so much nonsense, and I think this is Black folk in general. Actually, that's not true, because in some of us don't. Like we don't like it at all, so we don't take no nonsense. But in Nigeria, I don't know whether it's through education. I don't know what it is. Whether we just realize that there's just no way we're gonna win if we try and fight the establishment, or things cannot change because they haven't changed all of this time, so it won't change. So we don't bother.
I think that there's that things cannot change ideology. Yeah. So
for Nigeria to get to a stage, especially with the young people, where they're like, nah, enough is enough. We want an end to this.
Yeah.
And for them to come out in their droves, in their thousands, the way they did to protest against SARS, absolutely mind-blowing. And what happened at Lekki Tollgate with the shootings there, it just screams of Fela's music. It's just so reminiscent of him saying zombie, and it's everything he was talking about is still happening.
Of course.
So it's really sad. It's really, really sad that his music is still meaningful in this day and age, however many years later on. But I'm energized and inspired by the amount of gusto in Nigeria right now, with people trying to make things change. And it's a long battle, because we're seeing the response of the government and how ridiculous that is sometimes. That you go, you see, can never change. Can never change.
Yeah.
See how
it's for me. I look at it and I feel it's like at some point we have taking on madness as normal.
Mm.
And then for those who are coming to say, this is not normal, we shouldn't live like this, are being told they are the ones who are mad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to draw a parallel to the whole COVID situation because I know it's going off topic now, but it feels like people are, I don't know if they're brainwashed into thinking a certain way. But it's just very weird how the conditioning has seeped into people. Like I'm just seeing a lot of people having views that I'm like, really? Really? But I know that they also are looking at other people with opposite views as, really?
Yeah,
so it's so weird, but it's like it's really polarized views, and people feel so strongly about it, like they know the truth. You don't know the truth. You don't know the truth.
They couldn't handle the truth, but we'll leave that one and revisit at another day. So you talk about rap. You talk about rap as in the golden era of rap. What is your favorite era of rap to listen to?
Oh man, it's definitely the 90s. It's definitely the 90s. It was just so rich. It was just so rich. I mean, it was full of misogyny as well, but it was
we can't fight every battle all the time.
It was just so rich. You know, I learned so much from rappers of that time, and there was a level of well, I don't know, authenticity, originality, skill level. Just appreciate. There was just so much during that time, you know.
And you can understand them. I'm not casting shade on the new ones. Yes, I am, because if you're mumbling and I can't hear you, I'm not buying your music.
Yeah, I mean that's my favorite. That's my favorite. But I appreciate most of the years and times. I tell you the period that I did not like.
What
was the Ja Rule era. I hated that time. That period, I did not like it. I did not like it.
All right, what was it about? Let's bring this to the forefront. What was it about the Ja Rule era that you did like?
I can't even explain it. It was just corny. It was.
Are you ready?
It was just. You know what? Because let me see. So there was Ja Rule, and then there was 50 Cent. Around the same time. I could take 50 Cent. I couldn't take Ja Rule's. I don't know what it was. It was just, I think it was just that at that point, I couldn't take the commercial push or aspect of it. I just couldn't. The formula, he was, you know, he did it well. Don't get me wrong. He did it well. But I just didn't like it. I didn't like it, man. I was, nah.
Well, I think for me, 90s music was an era for me. And when you come up listening to Snoop Dogg, the fact is their children thinking Snoop Dogg, all he does is just eat. And I'm trying to explain to them that this is the man that did murder was the case that they gave me. And, you know, having to explain his history, it's like, never mind. He's Martha Stewart's best friend. That's all you need to know right now. And, you know, so you come from that era of music and you have to think,
wow. Yeah. And, you know, they don't make music like that anymore. You see, music like that is now deemed old school.
I know, which is crazy.
It's old school. So I'm from that school. So I'm to a lot of you, I'm not even old school. Like I'm probably ancient to like younger people, like real young people, because to them, old school is like Wiley and Dizzy.
Who?
That is old school to them.
Who's Wiley and who's Dizzy? Are we talking Dizzy Rascal?
Dizzy Rascal.
Okay, Dizzy Rascal, I know.
And then Wiley, you know Wiley, Bosie. Bossy. You don't know that song? No? He had beef with Stormzy recently, or a few months back. No?
I know Stormzy. I don't know Wiley.
All right, okay. So Dizzy and Wiley kind of came up around the same time, and they were doing grime music.
Okay.
So Wiley is considered the godfather of grime. So they, to the young ones, are old school. Do you see what I'm saying? Like Nas would be older school.
Oh dear Lord. So what would they consider people that Sugar Hill Gang and
No. They don't even
Stone
even know
Age.
that.
Stone Age, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, way back. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. So we're on this topic about hip hop and the way hip hop has it's a changing genre in itself. It changes, it morphs. You went through that phase. There was that Miami bass twist to it. There was a Dirty South twist.
Mm-hmm.
What direction would you like to see hip hop head?
I would like to see hip hop. It's hard to say because it's not so much so that hip hop isn't there already.
Mm-hmm.
But let's assume it's not there. I would like hip hop to go to a place where it's a genre of music that empowers its people in a way that maybe it hasn't done in a while. But I don't know if it's about the music or if it's about the machine behind the music, because the machine behind the music is always what pumps out what it wants to pump out. Yeah. And it will keep on feeding the public the nonsense that it wants to feed the public. So I guess what I'm saying is I would like the machine to change. I don't think the machine will do that unless it becomes trendy. If it becomes trendy and it makes money for them, I can't see that happening. Because I'm really sick of, at the moment, I don't really consume a lot of radio, for example. So I can't really talk on it. But what I do know from the young people that I do workshops with is that they consume a large amount of negative impacting sounds and lyrics to the point where it's normal. And if you come across as intelligent, inspirational, it sounds weird to them. It sounds off to them. That's a really sad place to be. That's a terrible place to be. Like, I listen to Wu-Tang Clan, Biggie Smalls, Nas, Tribe Called Quest, LL Cool J, 2 Live Crew, Foxy Brown, a whole range of different artists. I will take the good with the bad. Yeah, so, I mean, I'll take the intellectual with the gangster, with just the flossy, the P Diddy, the Mace. All of it's like I'll have a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that, and a bit of that. It's a balanced oral diet. Whereas now it's just, I call it crud. It's just crud. You're just hearing like the most evil of actions being carried out lyrically. And this is what the radios are pumping, because this is what they think the young demographic want to hear. This is what works. And it's nonsense. It's nonsense. But we don't realize the damage that it's doing. In the last couple of weeks alone, the number of horrendous stories about rappers that have been coming out to do with abuse, to do with rape, to do with kidnapping, all sorts of things have been coming out.
Kidnapping.
And listen, and I'm seeing people go, oh my gosh, so all those lyrics that he was talking about, he actually really is like that. What did you expect? Like you're listening to the most evil of lyrics being said in a fantastic way, and you love it. You love it. Not knowing that this is actually, in some cases, this is a reality. This is actually happening. And this is what we're celebrating. And this is what is being promoted to us 24/7. This is what is being celebrated. This is what is being deemed as hot. I would love for a time when we stop celebrating that. And this is not me having a go at any particular person, but I'm just saying the machine. It's probably a useless thought. Me hoping the machine changes, but maybe it's the consumers. Maybe it's the consumers that need to finally wake up, like Nigerians woke up and be like, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to hear this. I don't want my children hearing this anymore. I want young people to be like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not about the music per se. Maybe it's about us, the listeners, and us saying we don't want this. Yeah. Because I don't think it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all.
I would have to say that, yeah, it doesn't sound healthy at all. And it's weird because it's not in my purview because I don't really listen to a lot of the recent music. But isn't there also something about, you spoke about the machine and how it's the onus should be on the machine, but maybe not. Could it be a case of actually, this is where you start thinking about ownership of the business of music, where it's no longer reliant on that machine, and it's now the individuals, like people like, yes, Jay-Z had to come up from where he came up to where he is now, and now he's trying to educate through his music per se. So could it be now that people having to take ownership of the music industry and say, I want to take ownership of what it is I produce, I want to take, in terms of what you are doing as an independent artist, saying, this is what I will produce because it speaks to my soul, because it speaks to me.
Yes, I agree with that. I think the other point is that when you're a young artist, you only see the machine, and you see how the machine rewards particular artists for what they do. So you then want to do those things so that the machine will treat you nicely as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the whole journey of becoming an artist, you're looking at the illusion of the machine, and you think, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to rap about. Only this. I have to be disrespectful to women. I have to talk about being violent to my fellow brother. That's how I will make it. Do you know what I mean? So yes, it is there, it is about ownership. It is about independent artists hopefully doing so well without the machine, or without complying to the code of the machine, that and being successful in that, in whatever that means, in the eyes of people, for artists to be like, oh, there's another way. Oh, I can actually be like that. I can just be myself. I don't have to conform to that. I can because there's an example there for me. So, that's it. My whole thing is about not relying on the machine. I don't rely on the machine.
Okay.
I do rely on aspects of the machine. I still do rely on some parts of it. trying to figure my way out of it completely. But that's a journey. But I can only do what I can do.
Yes.
And what my fans or followers or supporters allow me to do. So when I put my latest project out called Arise and Shine, I had a plan to do it in such a way that I'd never done it before,
right?
And was less about the machine. Let me create my own machine,
right?
Do you know what I mean? So, hence why when I released the EP, I wrote the book to go with the EP. I did a whole merchandise line to come out at the same time. I released all of this in the middle of the pandemic, using my own model, independent model.
Yeah.
And this is the most successful launch I have ever done in music. As long as I've been doing music, this has been my most successful launch. Because it was about not relying on the machine anymore. It was about creating my own model that will work for me independently.
Awesome.
Still figuring it out, but like I said, this has been the most successful launch I've ever done. Okay. And I got to thank the supporters for just having my back.
And that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
It's been amazing.
So let me ask you this question, because we've done some very heavy questions. Let me ask you this question. You're going to be stuck on an island for 2 years. With what one album do you take with you? You can only take one. Only one.
These questions, eh? Well, I was going to say one of my favorite albums is a Marvin Gaye album.
Okay.
Called Here My Dear. But that album's a bit too sad to be playing that every day. So I don't think I'll go for that. Man, this is tough. It might have to be a Stevie Wonder album.
All right. Which one?
Is it Inner Visions? I think Inner Visions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that one. Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, we'll settle on Stevie Wonder's.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
What's yours?
No.
You see, you can't answer them kind of questions.
Well, okay. All right. No, if I had to answer it, it will have to be the Jill Scott album, the one that she has, and I can't remember the name of the album, the one that she has, You Don't Know What Love Is. That song, You Don't Know What Love Is, was the main track on that album.
How does it go?
Oh, please don't make me sing. If you want me to lose my audience.
I was trying to get you to sing that. I'm not sure if I know.
The line goes, have you ever broken down over your a partner? If you don't know what love is. Where she goes through, have you ever done this? Have you given up your pride because of love? Okay. If you don't know what love is. Okay. And I'm like, Jill, I love you, but I don't want that kind of love.
Okay, all right, Jill Scott. All right, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Jill Scott. Cool. That is an album I can take. If it's not Jill Scott, it will have to be an album by Nina Simone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's Nina Simone. It has to be her greatest hits, and it has to include Feeling Good, and it has to include the work song, and it has to include Black as a Color. That's my song right there.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so looking at your journey so far, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
I would say First of all, I'll tell him, hey, dude, you're a handsome guy. Speak to that girl. She likes you too. That's the first one.
Okay.
Second thing I'd say, I think I wrote this in the book as well. I'd say, don't be scared of the fact that you're ahead of your time. Own it, because it will pay dividends in the future.
Mm.
Like when I think back, I think there were some things that I was doing that was groundbreaking, but I didn't know, because you're just doing what you're doing when you're young, and maybe because the machine didn't reward me, I just thought, all right, forget it. Had I stuck to it, the story could be different.
Mm.
So don't be afraid, or if you're ahead of your time, if you're doing your thing and you're good at what you're doing, own it. Own it, make your mark, and let them know. And then the last thing would be, no, I'm not sure what the last thing would be, actually. I'm not sure.
All right. We'll circle back to that. What we can do is you can send us a message and we can put it on the show notes what the last thing will be. Okay. And you can share with us later once the show is live, and share with us what that last thing will be.
Nice.
So we've just come through the Let's Be Kind to Ourselves Day, Kindness Day, and everything we've been talking about.
That was my birthday.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And then we've talked about International Men's Day, and talking about calm, and talking about prevention of suicide in men. So this year has been a lot. How do you, Breis, incorporate self-care into your life?
First, by being aware of how I'm feeling, being aware of the level of stress around me, and just how I'm feeling. That's the first thing. So like knowing that. So because when you know, then you can say, I need to take a break.
Yeah.
I need a massage. I need some me time. I need to not do any work today. I need to take time away from social media. I need to not listen to the news. I need to not speak to that girl. I need to speak to this person. So once you're aware and you can assess some sort of like assessment of where you're at, then you can go, okay, so this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need.
Right.
And then I do my best, whatever's in my power, to do those things.
I think that's powerful. And the reason why I think we need to have that conversation about self-care more and more with men, because apart from anything else, we need to start having those conversations with men, because that whole concept of this, especially for men of color, Black men in particular, you are meant to be this stoic thing that is never broken, never bent, never hurt, and never heard. And I think the more we have those open conversations about self-care in men, the more we can have those conversations that say, we need to hear what's going on with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that I touched on in my book, Diary of a Creative Mind, is mental health or mental well-being. And it looks different for different people. But what's really important is, like I said before, acknowledging that things can be rough and whatnot, but we have to be willing, as men, we have to be willing to share. We have to be willing to share not just the good times, but also the bad times.
Mm.
And let it out. Like sometimes it's just about talking about it. Sometimes it's just getting it off your chest. And what was really interesting is that a lot of feedback I've had about the book, my book, is that people are like, wow, you were like really vulnerable. I love the vulnerable parts of the book. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, I get worried. I go, oh, shoot, is it too vulnerable? Like, you know, I can't have people out there thinking that, you know, man's not a man, innit? But it was so healing for people reading that, because they could connect to it. And we need to learn how to be able to share more, because we'll be able to connect more and help each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's about learning that vulnerability with the right people is not a bad idea. You know.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've come through to that point of the show where we celebrate a person, a thing, a moment. It's our So Loud moment of the week. So, Breis, what is your So Loud moment of the week?
Listen, you should let me prepare for this, because
And Breis, it was in the notes.
I was in the notes. Oh man. All right. I can't really argue that, innit? So, explain what it is again.
So it's a moment to celebrate. Yes. And whether it could be yourself, it could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be anything that you want to celebrate. And I think if you indulge me to give you an idea to celebrate, I think what we could celebrate is the Diary of a Creative Mind, which was a book that was birthed during the pandemic, that came out during the pandemic. It could be your career, your brand new EP that was launched in the midst of a global pandemic and was the most successful launches that you've had. I think that would be a couple of good things to celebrate.
I like that. I like that a lot. I thought it had to be something like this week. That's why I was like, do you know what? I want to celebrate my friends. My friends I call them family. You know, mixture of friends and family together. And some of them have been through the wars the last few months. And I want to celebrate the fact that they're here, they're fighting gracefully, disgracefully, but they're here, and they're not giving up and they're not giving in. I want to celebrate them. Yeah.
Okay. So we celebrate the families, the people who fight the good fight, the friends that back you up and hold you up and support you, the ones who, whether gracefully or disgracefully, are making it through this very interesting year of 2020.
Yes.
All right.
Salute.
We salute them. Okay, so just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
We've talked about the book briefly. We've talked about your music that came out in August. Where can people get it?
Okay. So the first place I would direct people to is my website, which is a banging website. It's www.mrbreis.com. Very simple. Okay. So it's MRBREIS.com. If you go there, you'll find all my videos, music videos are there. You'll find the merchandise shop where you can get the vinyl, get the EP on vinyl. You can get the EP on a USB wristband. That's so dope. It's a dope wristband. You need to check that out. T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve tees, caps. It's just everything's there. Obviously, you can get the diary. This is the only place you can get the diary of a creative mind. So if you want to get a copy of my book, that's the only place you can go. And then you can also follow me on social media at Mr. Breis. Again, MRBREIS. Find me on Insta, Twitter, and Facebook at Mr. Breis.
Awesome. So guys, you've heard it here. Go and get it. Don't do the plagiarizing. Go buy it. Go own it. Support.
Own it. There are gems. There are gems in the book. Like, I'm putting in some secret sauce inside there. So,
and we need the secret sauce.
We need
it. We need it.
And the music is. I can't even. Listen, I have to big up the music and all the contributors to the songs on the EP. I got to big them up as well.
Awesome.
Please go check that out. It's called Arise and Shine.
And yeah, okay. You know what we'll do? We'll have to get you back on the show.
Okay.
Once you have scheduled those shows that you're happy with, we'll get you back on the show before or after those shows. Let's continue this conversation, especially around the education bit, the using music to change and educate, using music in the classroom to create expression of self. And I think there's more to that we can explore. So I'm looking forward to getting you back on the show. And the last question I would ask is, I know music is your life. And it's almost like the reason why you breathe. But what drives your creativity aside from music?
Love of life, love of people, the pursuit of love. Yeah.
I like that. Okay. So we have come to the end. Now, people know how to find you on MrBreis.com. Go download, go buy the music, get the wristband, do the stuff. My last question for you is, what are you currently reading, or what was the last book you read?
Oh, so I've been terrible with reading. But the last book I was reading was, I think her name is Tommy Ade something. I can't remember. But the book is called Children of Bone and...
Oh, I know the book you're talking about. Hold on. I think I know the book you're talking about.
It was a few months ago now, so I can't.
I think it's Blood and Bone.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Children of Blood
and Bone. Children of Blood and Bone. Tommy Adeyemi.
That's it, Tommy Adeyemi. Yeah. So I was reading that, really got into it, but this was the early period of lockdown, and then things fell apart. So I haven't got back on it yet, but yeah.
Okay. Well, it's actually on my reading list. So once I'm done with my other books, I'm going to actually get that book and devour it, because I've heard some really great things about it.
Yeah.
Breis, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. And
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to getting you back in 2021. And I'm looking forward to actually meeting you in person. And seeing your work, and actually seeing what you do in terms of shattering some of the elements of the machine that we spoke about tonight.
And next time we see each other, I want to see you in the Arise and Shine hoodie.
Hoodie I can do, yeah.
You can do the hoodie, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the cap, but I can see the beautiful hair is not gonna really.
We're gonna have problems.
Oh gosh.
Oh, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Likewise.
All right. So guys, it's a wrap. You know what to do. go and buy the book, listen to the EP, buy the merchandise, but actually, more importantly, connect with the man who is an author, a rapper, an educator, who is using music to inspire change and actually grow others. So connect with him, look for him on social media and connect in and find out what it is that drives him and find out what's coming next for him. So guys, you know what to do. You enjoy the show, give us a like, give us a review. You know how to do it, either on YouTube or on iTunes. We'll take the reviews any way you send them. So you know where to find us, all on our social. It's a wrap. It's me, Lillian, saying good night.
You've been listening to The Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.